Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar, DMS for Teams with Epona. I'm Caroline Hill, I'm Editor-in-Chief of Legal IT Insider. Welcome. We've got some great guests here today, but I'm just going to wait for everyone to kind of file in. Let's hope, one day we'll be back doing this in person, but right now we're doing it on Zoom, and we're really happy for you to be with us today. I've got with me Keith Vallely, who's Senior Consultant at Epona. Hi, Keith.
Hello. How's it going, Caroline?
Very good, thank you. We'll talk about the Star Wars in a minute. And Marcel Lang, who is President of Epona USA and Product Manager for DMS for Legal. Marcel likes to be known as the product guy, and told me that he's not bothered about the big title, but as long as we get the product bit in.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm just going to wait for everyone to join us, and then we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. So obviously, if you're listening to this live, thank you so much for joining us. This is an interactive webinar. The idea of this is that you can hear from Keith and Marcel, that we're going to have a chat about the market, about the product, and we're going to have a demo from Marcel. And the idea is that this is very much an opportunity for you to ask questions and for Keith and Marcel to answer. So please treat it as that, jump in. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Say yes, obviously everyone's now so familiar with this, but so on the chat, just say who you are and where you're listening in from. You can ask questions at any time during this webinar. So as we start talking, please don't feel that there's sort of an appropriate moment. I think Marcel and Keith are both super comfortable with answering questions, I hope, at any point in the webinar. So let's make this properly interactive. So it would be great just for you to just say hi, so we know who you are and where you're listening in from. Make us feel that we're not in our own echo chamber. We are going to do some polls, which is going to be a bit of fun. You can also use the Q&A. Like we've done this, all of us have done this so many times that we really don't need any introduction. Hi, Mike from Tampa. Hi, Paul from Three Kites. Nice to see you. Morning from Los Angeles. Hi, Michael. Thanks very much for joining us. We are going to start by sort of a general chat, and I'd love to. Hi, Joe. Hi, Doug. I'm just going to start saying hi to everyone. Emma, we've got Emma Griffiths, who is from Legal IT Insider, who is going to be helping us to make sure that if you've got any questions, that we answer it. And we'll all be keeping an eye on the chat. So by all means, at any point you've got a question, just shove it in the chat or Q&A, whichever. Keith and Marcel, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to talk about, so there's sort of almost like two parts really, aren't there? So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Sharepoint in terms of as a DMS to start with, and sort of set the background in terms of what you do before we launch into Teams, which is obviously the topic that everyone really wants to hear about. And I know, Marcel, that's going to be the focus of your demo. Talk to me about, from your point, I mean, I write about cloud every day and the shift to cloud, the shift to Microsoft 365. Do you think COVID has made Microsoft 365 ubiquitous? Perhaps that's one for Keith.
Yeah, so I think the answer is yes, but I think the cleanest way to answer that, Caroline, is pretty straightforward. I think everybody knew a long time ago, 2017, 2018, 2019, that the cloud was the answer, and they started to move that way with Microsoft Exchange. Part of the reason for that was you could get rid of your server in the closet. Exchange updates were easy. It was a no-brainer, and everybody had already made that decision. I think what COVID did was they made all of the obviousness of it become much more clear when suddenly firms realized, oh my goodness, now everybody's working from home and everybody has to VPN in, or even worse, remote desktop to their computers, and suddenly working from home became a thing everybody had to do, and nobody could do it efficiently or effectively. And what that led to was the next cataclysmic disaster for the IT department, which was the lawyers started driving innovation. And what do I mean by that? Teams. They all started running teams, and nobody could get the horses back in the barn. Now everybody's running teams because they can make phone calls, they can collaborate, and the DMS became this thing that they weren't using anymore. And well, can I say the rest is history? Well, no, because it's not history, it's current and continuing on. But yeah, I think that's basically what happened.
Yeah. Do you think so? We, as a publication, have got quite an interesting history, as you know, in terms of writing about SharePoint as a DMS. Do you feel that, so, and forgive me if this is a challenging question, Keith, you know the purpose of this. I think I'm so excited about this conversation and about the transition in the market and the amount of progress we've made in shifting to the cloud. But what would you say if I said to you, is SharePoint now regarded, do you think, as a legitimate DMS?
So Marcel and I, we chuckle about this particular question a lot. And obviously we've built a business around answering that question, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So yes, SharePoint is a legitimate DMS platform. It's been a legitimate DMS platform for well over a decade. So this isn't even really a legitimate question to us, yeah? Okay. However, yes, we will answer the question. Yes, it is a legitimate DMS platform. Now, let me go one step further. Document management is not rocket science. Yes,
Yeah.
it's saving documents in a structure with version control and metadata and stuff like that, right, Marcel? I mean, how many times do we go over this? Yeah, and what SharePoint does for you is it does all those things. The question is always the same. How do you want to do it, and can it be done correctly and configured properly? And SharePoint's really just a Lego set that Microsoft has provided to everybody. I mean, I believe it's the most licensed software product on earth. So the Fortune 500 have decided for it. There's really just one little vertical left, the same vertical, and you're going to hear me say this a couple of times on this demo, that was the same vertical that was the last one to give up WordPerfect. So we're going to have to get over this. We're just going to have to move forward, right? And that's where we're at.
I think so. I just want to read out. So Heather, thanks Heather. Epona DMS rocks. Just thought we'd highlight that. By all means, put any fun comments in as well. So people. So big in terms of the big law. So we are, as a publication, we typically write about big law, and there's, I think, a couple of the bigger firms have struggled with SharePoint as a DMS, kind of very well publicized. Do you think? What do you think the, if I could call them previous drawbacks, if you'd forgive that term. So what do you think the previous how would you identify the previous drawbacks? And do you think that SharePoint Online and the shift to cloud has changed the dynamic, has changed that?
Well, I think the first biggest difference is SharePoint on-prem was hard. It was hard to keep it up to date. It was hard to keep all the technical updates and all the little quick fixes and all that stuff was hard. And we have several of our clients, not a lot, but we have several still who have on-prem servers. They're hard. They're much, the SQL connectors, all that stuff is much more complex. It's a harder lift, especially for law firms. And I say especially because they're in the business of practicing law. And Marcel could talk to that. But in the cloud, Microsoft does that heavy lifting. So our preference, and I think most folks in this business would tell you, the cloud is better for Exchange, and that's why everybody goes to Exchange for the exact same reason. The back end side with Microsoft is better in the cloud, and that is exactly the same with SharePoint. Marcel, do you have more to add to that? I think.
No, I don't think so, because that's it. It was always an issue with hardware failing, disk space, and if disk space was full, the search server was not working anymore. And then you had, of course, the know-how, the necessary know-how you have to maintain everything. So you see that's not, with the big companies, they have huge SharePoint teams. They're using SharePoint for an intranet or other purposes. They have the know-how. But in legal, no. So we are happy that the cloud came, because again, the heavy lifting is now done by Microsoft, and we are just. I'm always saying, Microsoft is baking the cake, and we are putting the cherries on top of it, making sure that everything is working and nicely done, and tasting very well.
The other thing is, and Caroline, I just want to add, you asked the initial part of your question was there was a couple of big firms in the beginning, and we had one that didn't work out in the very beginning as well, and it was on-prem here in the States. The real problem was, and I say this in all sincerity, is the technical skills that are necessary and the complexity on SharePoint back in 2011, 2012, that's almost a decade ago, right? Lots changed. We have over 3,000 companies, firms, corporate legals in full production now. That's not an insignificant amount. Yeah. If the big name firm that everybody remembers that spent millions came to us today, we could do it.
But if you're listening,
give me a call.
if you're listening in, jump in on this. Let me know your thoughts. This is we're going to come on to Teams. We're probably everyone's like, let's talk about Teams. But when we were talking about, just to give you, for those of you listening in, just to give you kind of a bit of a backdrop to why we're talking about this, is because I said to Keith, I think it's important. I think this is a really important part of the dialogue, right? This is something that I know you guys, as you said, you're bored of talking about it, but I felt like it would be really useful to make this a part of our dialogue, right? The Keith and Marcel have been very much on board with this. It's not like I'm kind of springing these questions out, So if you've got, listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, and how, whether, the changes that you've seen if you're working with Epona, etc. Do you think so you don't think that in terms of, you've had some really big wins. We're going to perhaps come on to talk about those in the corporate sector, perhaps. But how do you think, of the law firms that you've won, and I've published some of them, are they a certain sort of firm? Are they particularly technical, or do you think that the types of firms that you're now working with are very broad?
So they're a blend. I can't characterize them as small, medium, or large so much. I'll be candid and say none of them are in the AmLaw 100. And I would say that iManage has done a fantastic job, and I would throw NetDocs in that soup of locking up the AmLaw 100. So we don't spend a lot of time trying to get in there and fight that fight when it's raining cash and deals outside of it. So we go where the business is. There's no point in trying to turn a no into a yes. It's a waste of time. So we know they're all going to come eventually, because Microsoft is where the answer is. And eventually those firms will figure it out. But in the meantime, outside of that world, the firms that are looking at the actual big picture are figuring it out. And a lot of the firms in the AmLaw 100 have figured it out. And here's what that is. One of our clients did a presentation at ILTACon, and here's what they said. They looked at what their lawyers were doing in terms of process. And they went from 18 vendors down to 3. And those 3 vendors are Microsoft, Litera, and Epona. And that was a reduction in terms of cost of 80% in the second year. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with that 80%, but that's a lot of money. That's a 200 lawyer firm. So, 400 users, 500 users. It's a lot of people, a lot of money.
A lot of money. Paul Longhair says, by all means, jump in with your observations, not just questions. So if SharePoint, we can all read this, but I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this, Keith or Marcel. If SharePoint is the vault, surely Teams is the key that has made this feel more accessible for law firms and their users.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely. Because, again, we have often to explain the SharePoint side. SharePoint had a bad taste, or seeing as a dead parrot. It was always the SharePoint. Now Teams comes up and everybody say, oh, this is a cool product. we can use that. We have to use it. You know, it's COVID time, it's hybrid working. We need to use Teams. But under the hood, everything is SharePoint. You know, people don't see that immediately. They see in Teams a files tab, and they see that they can, you know, do something with documents over there. And Paul is completely right on that one. So it's way more accessible and more, you know, also accepted that it is something like this.
Yeah, and you overcome the files issue, right? Which is if you're not using SharePoint, then in a lot of the demos that I've seen about Teams, there's the issue that it's automatically files as SharePoint. Tell me about, so you've talked about the MLaw 100, but I want to give you the opportunity, because I know within the corporate legal sector, actually the position is quite different, isn't it? And when we spoke at the webinar, I was actually really impressed with, you've got, what is it, 20 of the Fortune 100, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And unfortunately, I'm under NDA with a lot of these guys, so I can't really tell you who they are in this environment, right? But some of, you know, come get a demo from us and I can reveal under NDA a lot of them, but some of them I can say. I can say Shell Oil, I think. There's a few others I can't say.
Let's hope you can.
It's too late, right? I'm probably going to get in trouble already. I got a couple of guys in Europe who are already probably mad at me, but there's a few others I can say, but I'm probably, now I'm getting nervous that I shouldn't, so I'm going to stop, right? Yeah. But I will tell you, some of the companies that we're doing business with are dream companies. Now, I know the iManage folks know who they are because we're dislodging them, and I know some of the NetDocs folks know who they are because they're getting dislodged there too. And the reasons are always the same. The large corporate entities don't want a third-party content stored outside their cloud, which is Microsoft. That's the answer, right? That's the answer. And the law firms are going to answer the same way ultimately. And if your firm or your environment doesn't feel that way, then you can take the years it's going to take to get your integrations or whatever, or however that's all going to work out. I don't know. But the solution's already here. You don't have to wait. We've already built it. Marcel's going to show it to you in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And you know, and actually, I think what's really interesting, I did a talk yesterday, actually, talking about how the client really is, driving now decisions. And actually, what's really interesting is, you know, the opportunity to be on the same platform as the client, right? And we're going to come on to talk about Teams in terms of external collaboration, which is the golden ticket, right? Where you don't have to, from a security perspective, you don't have to be moving anything around. So I think and I speak to clients a lot about that as well. And obviously that's something they're very much driving towards. Let me ask you, before you brought up iManage and NetDocuments. What do you think in terms of any point you guys can tell me to shut up, right? But I think this is something that's really interesting, and I think something that people are curious as to your response in terms of the money conversation, right? I wonder what you think iManage and NetDocuments give you over and above SharePoint, and potentially what the cost of that equates to, or what the cost of that is.
So money, right? That's always the big question. Okay, so what I've done is of course, we're always in I like to call it the Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid movie situation where it's a shootout, right? Okay, so in that scenario, first year up, we're all kind of about the same. Sometimes, rarely, we might be a little bit higher, but not very often, first year. Okay, second year, it's a cliff. They're all way higher than us because there's no real massive Epona costs the second year. That's those guys. Why? Because now you're in the Microsoft tenant. So all the extra capabilities and licensing is your Microsoft tenant. That's why DGS in this case can say they save 70, 80% in the second year. That's why. So here's a better way to say it. Your records management cost in Microsoft 365 is included in your E5 or your E3. Or Marcel knows all the different licenses of Microsoft. It's hard to keep up. Your litigation hold is in Microsoft. Your security is in Microsoft. Your compliance is in Microsoft. Everything is already Microsoft. Microsoft is your platform. You're already paying for your email. So the way to think about this, and this is the part that probably drives my competitors who are not Microsoft platform mad. It must drive them mad, right? Is when they come to punch out Epona, they're punching out an empty suit, right? Because what we do is we just sew up the Microsoft pieces. I mean, yes, we're adding some cool nifty features, but the core power is the Microsoft power. We're just making it easier to work with for our clients.
Yeah. Should we do a poll? I think this is the perfect time to do. So we'd like everyone to jump in. So you know how the polls work. It should flash up on your screen. So I think we've said, is your firm looking to expand your use of the Microsoft platform? If you're not a firm, then it is your company, or you can, if you're working for a consultancy, just reflect your experience of the firms that you're working with. So is your firm looking to expand your use of the Microsoft platform? Yes or no? We've kept it nice and simple for you.
Marcel, we can't vote. Do you see that? Hosts and panelists cannot vote.
You can't do it. Okay, so we'll just give it a second. I don't think
so all I can do is X out. Is that all I can do?
Is everyone in? I think we'll give it another second. I think that the vote is pretty clear. So is your firm looking to expand your use of the Microsoft platform? 90% said yes.
Sweet.
Oh,
then you've come to the right place.
The right place. We'll do another poll. We'll do another poll in a minute. It's just gone down slightly, but it's still vast majority. So 88. Thank you for that. So do you think so? Yeah. So I think we should come on to talk about. Oh, the poll's flashing up again. Sorry. So let's talk about teams. I think maybe Marcel. Should we just jump straight into the demo? And I've got a ton of questions.
Oh yes.
So Marcel is completely up for your questions. Ask your questions as we're going or after. I mean, I guess ideally we'll give Marcel an opportunity to do the demo. I'm really looking forward to it. But and then perhaps we'll find an opportune moment to come back to your questions. But please just put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure we don't miss any. So Marcel, I don't know if you want to take it away.
Yes, definitely. So what I want to do. First of all, let me put the playing field. So do you see a slide? There's a slide. Okay, so this is, I hate slides. So you got 2 slides from me and everything else will be demo. Just want to see, I'll tell you the playing field. So basically, if you work with a DMS, you have to deal with, Outlook, for email management or email filing. Obviously with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Adobe, working from the browser, from the iPhone, iPad, if you're using DocsCorp, Litera for certain, transaction stuff going on, drafting, everything is related to a DMS. And I think I manage NetDocs, WorldDocs, OpenText, else there, all the other players out there, they can do a good job on that one. The difference with Epona is that we save everything in the Microsoft Cloud. And saying Microsoft Cloud means we have all our solutions set up and creating a kind of meta centricity inside the SharePoint environment. That's what we do. We do this with a couple of applications or solutions we have, like DMS for Legal. Obviously, that's the one, our main product. What we all do is, of course, we have a mobile application. We do contract management. So for especially corporate legals, we see contract management. But everything is basically based on our DMS in SharePoint. So to do this is that from every angle you're working with an application like Word, you're saving something in the Microsoft Cloud. There's no middle tier. There's nothing Epona on that one. We pick the document, you do save as, you save it into your Matter. The Matter is in this case in the cloud. So quickly over here, I'm not going into DMS for Legal at all, SharePoint or Outlook. But what you see over here is my Larry Johnson lawsuit, which is accessible from Outlook, of course. This is pretty much the same way as the others are working. We can have it on the left side, or we have an app on the right side. What I can do over here is quickly go to show you that's actually what we're doing is SharePoint. So this is an out-of-the-box SharePoint page. There's no cool stuff going on from Epona. What you see over here, we see some folders, and inside the folders we see some documents, the regular stuff. From SharePoint out, you see also in this case it's connected to a team. So what we can do now is, everything is connected. Now you see teams. So this is the one where we want to stay, teams. And inside teams, you can have multiple teams. And we've seen in COVID that you're not talking about 10 teams. You're sometimes talking about thousands of teams. So what we are doing is, inside our solution, we have a provisioning. Epona 365 workspaces will push and create everything on the provisioning side. It will create the team. It makes sure the governance is in place. What we also do is next to the team, we're creating some tabs inside the team. For example, some information from the matter. And of course, what we do is a connection with Elite, Adherent, Clio, Lean Law, basically the players out there, where we get a connection, creating all the details, making sure the team is available. And inside the team, we're creating directly some tabs. One of them is the meta details, which can come from any system. But this is basically already in SharePoint. And if you have, and that's something what new Microsoft Viva, configured in your tenant, you see sometimes those pop-ups over here. Those pop-ups are the Viva topic cards, which is pretty cool because the topics automatically organizes content and expertise across your organization. So it's making it easier for people to find information and put the know-how to work. This is what's happening. So without doing anything, you see already something about Bank of America, what people are involved, what kind of resources are there. You see another one like Epona over here. This is all based with the AI engine on the Microsoft cloud. What we also have is, a notebook. OneNote is nowadays pretty much used, and people can just put something in the note over here. And we have some checklists and tasks where we, based on what kind of meta type it is, we can create predefined checklists or planner tasks in this case directly during the provisioning. What we also know is that if you have thousands and thousands of teams over here, that navigation can be a little bit cumbersome. So with my demo team over here, Larry Johnson, I also have some more channels. I've got my general channel, I got my management channel, and I also have a shared channel. I will come back on that one later. Back to the tabs over here. Those are the famous tabs, posts, and files. Let's start with posts. This is the one, people are using the last 2 years very heavily, and where people are still using Teams frequently. At the moment, Microsoft has been 250 million active users monthly. So you can imagine how much that will is. We also know that about 24 organizations out there in the world have more than 100,000 users of Teams. So those are huge organizations. So you can see what they're doing. Most of the time they are using posts and the files tab to do some stuff. Inside the post, you can, of course, do what you can do with Teams. I don't have to explain something like this to you all. What people are, forgetting is that if you're starting meetings over here, especially what we see in law is that people are recording those, meetings. Like we are recording, I think, this session. People are recording also the appointments they have with clients, with third parties, with other councils. And what you can do is you can save or you can record it, and automatically the save will be, this is an example over here, will be saved in the Files tab, the famous Files tab. And if you go to the Files tab, you see basically the same stuff you just saw in Outlook, but it's the same environment, it's the same matter. So if I click on correspondence over here, I see my stuff of the correspondence folders. if I go to recordings, I can find back all my recordings I've done with my meetings in this particular matter. And this is what's going on. Everything you do, for example, if you record something like a meeting with a client, transcription is also possible. Using the NLP of Microsoft stuff, it will just do the whole transcribing of your meeting, where all those files will be stored as well, again, in the cloud, and are searchable. So if you want to search something back from, okay, hey, we had a meeting someday and it's about this, you can actually search on that one. The files tab is, and that's something what we have seen during COVID. Suddenly there was panic with law firms, also because they saw people are actually doing posts. They say, hey, let's create a new conversation over here. Attach a file from my desktop or from my external DMS somehow. What's happening if you do this, the file will be saved automatically in your Files tab, again in SharePoint. And if you're using the private chat, it will be saved in your private OneDrive. So there was a compliance issue. Now you had that meeting or the demo from Keith, from Lipman, from Prosperoware. He's explaining exactly, that this is a big issue, of course. So what's going on is that we don't have that issue because we work with the Files tab. If we do browse teams and channels, we see actually again our files. We see our files over here. I can attach. It's one-on-one, so there's no need for any issue in terms of compliance because this is what we do. If you take a look at the Files tab further, you see also folders. You see metadata columns. You see that you can do stuff over here, like you can click over here, open the files, and open the files in the browser or in the app. And the app means going into Word, in this case, or do it in Teams. Microsoft will give you the ability to work actually on documents inside this team interface. And this team interface is, of course, a client installed on your PC or a web client, which can run on the browser and even on the Mac. So it's the same client everywhere. But what we have noticed is that this is going to work perfectly, except if you have thousands of teams, one, navigation is difficult, and you don't have a team per matter, per se. Meaning, we got questions of firms say, hey, I got thousands of matters. Do I need to create for all those thousands of matters also teams? And we say, no, why should you? You should only create a team if you want to use everything else around it. What we are doing is we created an application called DMS for Teams. So this application is accessible from the left panel over here. And if I click on it, what I do, hopefully it will work, of course. What it will do, let me go quickly to all matters first. So what it will do is it will give you an overview of all your matters. It could be, thousands, could be 100,000s. In terms of performance, there's always a big thing about Microsoft. That's something what we don't have that issue. What we're doing is on a technical level, but we are doing it different than you're just going into a list and get everything. What you see over here is basically some columns where you can see all the matters of the system. Of course, the meta IDs, the clients. And you also see an icon of Teams. In my demo environment, you see basically that only those over here will have a team as well. So I can select one. I can search for one. I can just using the search. So I can just search on anything over here, part of the name, meta code or client or whatever. But I also have the ability to refine my list. So if I have a huge list of matters, I can just say, okay, I want to see only the real estate matters over here. And then the whole list will be only showing you the 10 real estate matters. Or I want to see real estate and labor, for example. So people have the ability to refine very quickly on what they want to see and just can go back also by clicking it out. We also have the ability to meta status, and everything you see on the site over here is configurable. So depending on what kind of metadata you're using, you can also set up your refiners in this panel. This means also the same for the columns over here. For example, if I want to have a column called responsible attorney, we could configure it over here to show also responsible attorney and make it also refinable. So you can go very quickly to that matter. So now going to the matter, I can just say right click and say, go back to my Teams conversation. So what it will do, it will just jump back to the Teams in Teams. So if I have thousands of teams, I can really go quickly say, okay, I want to see this. I can right click on a Teams conversation, or want to go with this one. So take Larry Johnson again, go to the Teams conversation. What it will do, it will go back to your team itself, and you're now in the post again. So let's go back over this one. So I can work immediately from this angle, also navigating to the team if I want to work in the team. But we say, okay, this is not, very useful all the time. So we have something on the left panel called documents, called matters and clients. We are creating some new cool stuff over here. I can tell you it will be contracts and tasks, but that's coming up. What you see over here, of course, the matters. We see also the My Matters. The My Matters is basically any matter you already use subscription on. So you can subscribe to a matter and it will be coming in My Matters list. This is the same list you'll see everywhere in Outlook, in Word, Excel. If you save something, it's always with you. And next to the matters, we also have the documents, because what we know is that people are going always back to my documents. Let me go to the old documents first. They see actually all the documents where they have permissions to, of the whole DMS. In my demo, we only have 5,700, something like that. I tested it also with more than 1 million. That was easy. We tested also with more than 30 million. That was also easy, because again, it's not showing 30 million at once in the screen, of course. Again, the refiners are also depending on your system. How is your DMS configured? Are you using document types, document statuses? What I easily can do is, again, I can search easy on or refine on. I want to only see Word documents. So I click on only this one and I see now only the Word documents. Or maybe it was also PDF. I don't know for sure. Let's go for PDF. And I'm pretty sure we did something, the last past 3 months. So what it's doing now, it's just refining everything without searching. And then it was probably a document, it was maybe a draft or something else. And now I found my document. So you can go very quickly using the refiners and going back to your document you want to see at that moment. Again, the refiners over here and the columns over here are again configurable or sortable. So if I want to click now on modified, it will do it on modified. If I want to do it on the client, we'll do it on client. And so I can go quickly to a matter. If I find the document, I can do right click and go to the matter itself. It will open the matter. So if I'm now going to a matters, because that's something I want to show you, is let me go to the Larry Johnson lawsuit. I could click and open in SharePoint. I can also do this with a matter without a team, going in SharePoint. I can, of course, not opening something in Teams or going to Teams, because this one does not have a team. Really important to understand, it's the SharePoint environment what's displayed over here. It's the same way. Teams and what we are doing is basically the same, but you can also have your matter without a team. You can create a matter using a matter intake form if you don't have one. What we see in practical field, most will have a connector with their practice management system, which we'll be creating automatically. Often there's a kind of checkbox, do I want to have create a team? Yes, no. What about memberships? What about owners? That kind of permission stuff. What I can do over here, I can double click on it, and now it's opening my Larry Johnson lawsuit inside the DMS for Teams app without going somewhere else. I'm in my Teams. You see immediately my channels, my general channel, my private management channel, which is only available for certain people, and also a shared one. So now coming up with shared in November, hopefully, Microsoft will release Teams Connect, which is giving you the ability to have shared channels. A shared channel is pretty cool because you can invite people with their own name to that channel, external people. We have the ability to even drag and drop stuff from one to the other if you want to. And that will be coming immediately available for them. But before that, what we also can do over here, we can say, okay, hey, I see my construction contract over here. Is this the right document? I can have a quick overview, see the properties of the document, see all the versions of the document, and I also see a preview of the document. And this is all, built in. And depending, probably we will, have the preview on any kind of type of document. If you have a zip file, for example, it will go into the zip file and show you the content. And people can still just check quickly what it is. We also know that people are, intend to send documents to others. So you can have a right click and you can do a couple of stuff over here. Of course, you can open the file in the browser. You can open it in an app. App means it starts Word in this case and will open in Word, and open in Teams. If you open in Teams, the document will be opened like you are opening a document in Teams. It will be in the Teams interface. What is not possible with the Teams is, sending links, sharing stuff. So what we have done is you can now say, hey, this document should be shared to somebody, internal or external. People can send a link. We're not a really pro in sending emails with attachments anymore because of different reasons. So sending links is something we thought that will not be taken that easy in corporates, but it is. So this is something we see now opening everywhere, that people have the ability to send links to internal and external people.
Marcel, you're almost out of time, buddy.
Okay, sorry. So what you could do over here is you can set links, the permission on the links. I can say, hey, this is only for people of my firm or specific people. I can say allow editing on my documents directly, or block download. That means you cannot even download the file, but just viewing it. And if you apply that one, I can even send something very easy to a person, even external if you want to. And from that angle, I can also say, create a message over here, or using Outlook Web Access to send an email. So again, we want to be platform independent in this case. We don't want to have Outlook installed. If we have Outlook Web Access, we can do the same stuff. So you
Marcel,
can now send emails.
Somebody wanted to see if the search on the DMS for Teams was doing full text.
Yes,
content search, yeah.
Yeah, so what we could...
We've got, Marcel, and after that, I'll jump in because we've got a few questions. It'd be great if we could do this question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Searching, I can search on what is it, agreement. So I can use any word over here. I can use wildcards. I can use anything. It will be full text. It will be searching, of course, the name and everything in the metadata properties. So even if you have something in the metadata properties like a client or a meta name, it will be searched. And so you can search easily from the search over here.
Try Jetson, George Jetson.
Jetson?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, there's all my emails. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so, and again, you can now quickly go to the meta if you want to. And I showed you basically a meta with having a team, of course. So if I go to a meta without a team, like, I take the Apple meta, that's, some demo meta from Keith, you see now something which is not having a team, but it is actually, also available in Teams as well.
Caroline's got like a crap ton of questions for us, Marcel.
Go ahead.
So we gotta let her go.
I have a crap ton, yeah.
Yes.
Let's go back up to, so I'm going to come back to the in-tap thing after. So can we have, let's do the sort of product demo type questions. Can we have multiple matters? This is from Paul Longhurst. Can we have multiple matters stored under a client? And if so, are there any limits on the number of matters?
Nope.
There's no limits. No limits.
Nope. So of course you can. So for us, a client is most often it's a metadata field.
Yeah.
Because what we have seen in the field is that often people are creating a matter for example, take a name, whatever, for General Motors, and they create a matter in the system, and then next day they'll turn and say, oh, it was not General Motors, it was some other company, and they're changing something in Elite. So if you have combined a complete structure, it's pretty difficult to move libraries in SharePoint around, which is totally unnecessary. So we say, okay, the matter is for us the main library in this case, and everything else will be metadata. So we don't care if the client is having thousands of matters. Probably there are lots of clients with thousands of matters.
Okay, I'm just conscious of time. So Christopher Humbert, if you have multiple matters under a same team, how can you assign different contributors, brackets members, to each matter?
Yeah, that's all member based. So if you at the moment you're creating your team and you're creating your channels, you can actually define what kind of members you want to have on that one. Some will private. If you do something in a public way, probably we don't see that. So we see most of the times if people are really going for that design, it will be something based on members and owners of a channel, which it is maybe not the best design.
Yeah, our provisioning service can handle multiple security models and all of that, and you're just going to have to sit with us and devise your security model, and none of this is easy. It's a lot of brainstorming, and yeah.
You're keeping us entertained at your end, Keith. Okay, how is Heather, how is the shared channel different than the existing guest user access functionality already in Teams? Marcel mentioned something MSFT is adding.
Yes. So let me quickly.
Teams security. Are we going to go down this rabbit hole? Is that what this demo?
No. It's more. We're not going into that one because if talking about permissions, I can talk the whole day.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but we'll be publicizing the recording. We can share a link to get in touch with you guys. So anything that's going to be a long, we can always, you can chat after us. But carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I think this is one from the roadmap from Microsoft. This is coming from November. That's called Microsoft Teams Connect. And you can collaborate with people and teams that span different organizations. With Teams Connect, you can basically create those shared channels and use any user with an identity. So if I want to share something with Caroline, I can just type her email address in it, and I will share my channel. What's happening now? You know how it is. If you are in Teams, you have all your teams. And if you want to share something, the guest access, I need to go over here on the top and log in out and log in again in the Teams from the opposite party. With Teams Connect, you will pop up this kind of Larry Johnson lawsuit suddenly in your Teams with the channel is shared to you. So you don't have to log in, log it out anymore. It will be a brilliant one, I can tell you.
Thank you.
Emma, if you can share the link to everybody to go to our website so they can sign up for
Can you, this isn't so much a question, can you show searching of the document using the search documents in the right-hand corner?
We just did that, Caroline.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Sorry, I didn't. Sorry. I'm losing my brain. Can you create documents from a template and dynamically pull in metadata, e.g. address, etc.?
Yes, with a different product. Not with this one, but yes, we can do that.
So what we could do, I can tell you already a little bit. I will show you quickly. We have, of course, also new folders, Word documents, and we can connect that to a template system. Even if you, for example, if you're using Litera or whatever, we can use that one for document drafting. We can just add it over here.
Yes. I'm waiting for the INTAP question, Caroline. Let's get to that one quickly.
Should we do that one? Okay, but very quickly, there's one more. Actually, can you demo searching in Outlook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Marcel, click your blue, go to
and
Outlook.
And then the last question we'll do, Keith will do the INTAP question, and they're like, but I'm not sure there's a good place to do it. So yeah, can you demo searching in Outlook?
What do I need to do?
Yeah, go to your Outlook, Marcel.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, select DMS My Workspaces.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he's going to select, so he's going to put his mouse in the search box.
Yeah, on the top.
And then he's going to type George Jetson.
Oh. I'll do Jetson.
Jetson, yeah. And so I saved lots of email in the DMS with the phrase George Jetson in it. Now you'll notice on the far right, the search refiners are showing email and Excel, matter codes, matter names, everything. So when the search is run, and notice the email that's got the highlights in it showing George Jetson. Jetson is highlighted. Now, SharePoint will give you back highlights or indicators on email. Microsoft keeps saying they're going to do that for Word and PowerPoint and Excel and everything else. I haven't done that yet. But this is all SharePoint search. There's no local indexing, none of that stuff. Yes, Heather. Those search refiners are available for you guys also. I don't know why you don't have it. Let's talk after the call. Or like later tomorrow or something. I don't know why your search refiners aren't working. Okay, anyway, so search refiners are part of configuration in SharePoint. So what basically happens is we do all of the configuration in SharePoint, and they are just surfaced to you back in Outlook. That's how it's supposed to work.
So that answers the question, what about filing in Outlook? So Reed wanted to answer.
Yep.
And then can you show saving documents and versions?
Yes, there are versions in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, we do something over here. Say, okay, I want to save something. We have possible stuff. We can, using an app, which is on the right side of the screen, where you can say, I want to save something. So I can save, something and copy to the DMS. If I do this like this, it will show you my matters. You see my Larry Johnson lawsuit. It's my matters. See my general. So go to drafts, give it a name. I can save. At the moment you do it again or make a modification, it will of course say, hey, do you want to have, save it as a new version? Microsoft is using draft versions, so minor versions, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. And if you have autosave on, it will be a continuous process. Also supported for co-authoring, of course. But that's all there. It's all.
So let's come to Damon, because I think we're pretty much out of time, and it's been so great. I mean, if you do, Emma's just shared the link. If you do have further questions, so Damon, I'm not sure I'm supposed to say, but anyway, why Epona versus Intapp's new solution?
Okay, so here it goes. Here's the answer, folks. All right, so.
Oh, interesting.
All right. So there are two answers to this question. So first, I'm going to give you the answer that I feel is the right answer. We've been doing this for a long time, and I dare say we've been doing this a lot longer than Repstore has been doing it. So when we first opened here in the US, which was in 2011, and Epona's been around for 25 years, so that goes back beyond 2011. What I told my colleagues in Europe is we're going to build this business in the States one deal at a time. One document management system, one law firm, one corporate legal department, one 5-user firm, one 10-user firm, 100-user firm at a time, which basically means one document or one email filed at a time, the old-fashioned way. We weren't going to do this with venture capital money and a lot of marketing and a lot of crap. And it was going to take a long time. And that's exactly what we've done. So here's what we can do at Epona that my colleagues or my competitors have not been able to do. Well, not only can we sell you a DMS, we can deploy the DMS. And then we can train you on that DMS. And then we can support the DMS. My competitors cannot do that. And they have not been doing it for 10 years. In the United States and Canada. We can.
I mean, I think that for me, Keith, I've obviously been aware of Epona for many years. You and I getting to know each other.
Talking for years.
So again, and it's great chatting to you as Marcel. Thank you for the demo. I think so. Just to finish up, there's the link here, which we'll share as well when we publish this in the recording. But for any of you in listening live, there's that link where you can, if you've got any questions immediately that you want to direct to the guys. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you for all your questions. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making it fun. Thank you for saying where you're listening in from. It's always great to see the names, and thank you for your engagement. I've had a really good time, and I hope you have too. And thanks, Keith and Marcel, for your time.
Caroline, thank you so much for letting this happen. We really, really loved it. We really did enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Take care. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.